guys. Okay. Thank you everyone very much for coming. My name is Ben Franklin, the president of the Wildcats Hockey Club. You've started to meet some of our coaching staff here, and I'll introduce them later as well. Thanks for spending time with us on the weekend and some time afterwards as well. The purpose of these clinics for the next 3 weeks is just give you guys an opportunity to meet us, give us an opportunity to meet you, tell you a little bit about our program, what we do, and answer any questions and comments and discussion that we might have at the end of it. I'm going to only spend about 10 minutes or so to tell you a little bit about us so you know. There's also some materials on the back table there with some flyers and information about us as well. But we're happy to stick around after as long as you need if you have any specific questions that you want to ask privately or in person as well, specific to your children. So what I'm going to do today is I'm just going to go over a little bit of the history of our program so you can learn a little more about us and where we came from. I'm going to talk about the purpose behind our program. Our 3 pillars, and then our core programs, and then the next steps if you're interested in learning some more or getting more involved with us. And then at the end, I'll leave some time for some open questions and answers, and then we'll stick around afterward if anyone has any specific questions they want to come and ask. So first of all, I'm from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, originally. I've been here about 9 years now. I played hockey growing up. It was my passion. I played AAA hockey, junior A hockey, and then college hockey at University of Toronto, and then some minor pro hockey. And I ended up in California as really a total fluke. I was just playing some pro roll hockey tournament things, and I would always come down to California. It was a cool vacation, and there was a Canadian guy who owned a rink, and he offered me a job when I was finished college, and I loved it here and I stayed. So that was almost 10 years ago. I became a hockey director. I wanted to play pro hockey. I played a little bit of minor pro hockey. I realized it wasn't really going where I wanted it to go, and I saw an opportunity to be involved in hockey still for the rest of my life and do something that I was really passionate about. So I started doing that. I started coaching kids teams, and I loved it. I loved coaching. I started coaching at the Wildcats Hockey Club out of Anaheim for a few years, and I really enjoyed it. I did it full time. I did lessons and clinics and camps and things like that. It was a small club. At the time, it was only 6 teams, and I coached 3 of the teams. And an opportunity came up for me to take over the program. The owner wasn't involved really anymore. And then my wife was also an athlete. She's from California. She grew up playing basketball and tennis, and we were both really passionate about athletics and the role they had in our lives. So we jumped at the chance and took over the club. It was a whole new world. I wasn't really prepared for it, to be honest. I knew I loved coaching. I knew I loved hockey. And all of a sudden, I was went from a coach to leading an organization. And I wasn't just focused now on my own teams that I was coaching. I had to watch what some of our other coaches were doing. I had to have relationships with the other clubs around us and leagues. And it was really eye-opening, and it was really challenging. To be honest, what I saw when I started looking at other coaches and clubs and our own even within our own organization, I was disturbed with what I saw within our own club. I saw coaches that weren't doing things that I thought were appropriate for children. I saw coaches doing things that I didn't think were in their best interests, and we had a lot of challenges. We fired coaches mid-season. We had some things like that, and it was really challenging. And it got to a point where I was talking with my wife, and we had made a decision: is this what we want to do? And she knew how passionate I was about it, and we talked about it, and we came up. I decided that I wasn't going to do it anymore unless we could do it the way that I felt like it should be done. So we had to figure out from there, what is that? Why am I doing this? Why are we starting a hockey club? Why do I want to do this rather than just coach teams, for example? And came up with really 3 main things. Number 1, I wanted the kids to love the game, because if the kids love the game, they're going to stay in it. They're going to work hard. They're going to become the best that they can be, and they're going to get a lot out of it in other ways too. We wanted it to be about more than hockey. Hockey, I didn't play in the NHL, but all my best friends, my best man, my wedding, all my groomsmen were from. I met them in hockey. I've traveled around the world all because of hockey. I went to school because of hockey. A lot of these things in my life, my career now, my family's because of hockey. So, and I feel like a lot of that is from the lessons I learned from it. So it needed to be about more than just the hockey with what we were doing, because we're impacting kids' lives. And the third thing is we want to maximize the kids' potential. We want to give them the best opportunity to be the best player that they can be. that might be all the way to the NHL, that might just be really having a lot of success at the youth level, but we want to give them the opportunity to do the best that they can. So how do we do that? And there was a big disconnect with accomplishing these and the way that I felt the club at the time was set up and the way that I felt youth hockey in Southern California was set up. So this was challenging to get to. And how we did that, how I feel like we're going in that direction now is from our three pillars. So the ADM is the American Development Model. You may or may not have heard of it here, depending on how long you've been involved in youth hockey. PC is the Positive Coaching Alliance. And 3, we had to completely change our structure and the way that we were set up as an organization. So the ADM, the American Development Model, it's only been around for a few years, and it's fully 100% backed and funded by the NHL, by the National Hockey League. And USA Hockey is the national governing body for ice hockey in the US, and the NHL has given them millions and millions of dollars to improve the sport of hockey in the United States. Because they want more players playing the sport of hockey, more players staying in the sport of hockey, and they want more American players to play at the highest level of the NHL. They want to be drafting American-born kids to play on their franchises in the NHL. That's going to help their business as well, right? And they realized that there was a big gap because the U.S. has about 300,000 players and is ranked 6th in the world in rankings for international. Number 1 in the world is Sweden, and they have 41,000 players. So they started wondering, how is it that we have 6 times the amount of players, but we're way less successful than some of these other nations? So they started studying what they do in other countries. They started looking at sports science from other sports, player development, and they came up with the American Development Model. It's new and it's been accepted and rejected in some places based on their tradition. The main 2 points of it, with the American Development Model, there's a lot of information in the back table there, and we can help you more if you have questions. The main points of it is it's an age-appropriate training, which means that what you do for 8-year-olds is different than what you do for 18-year-olds. A 10-year-old is not a 16-year-old. There's different things that are important at different ages. And what's happening in a lot of places in this country is that adults are applying adult frameworks to kids, or they're applying professional ideas to kids, and they're expecting them to be like professionals and develop like professionals when they're completely different. So every age group has a window of trainability, it's called, something that that age group is susceptible to learning the most at that age group. And if you miss it, if you focus on things that are out of that age group, you miss that opportunity to develop them the best of their abilities. So the American Development Model has a stepping stone for each age group, and they have specific focus points of each age group. And then the second part of it is it's a development model over a competition model, which means it's about the kids, it's about the athletes, it's not about the game. If it's an example of competition model is, let's say the club, we want the club to win state championships, so I can put my Ben Frank on the championship, and we can go 100 wins and 2 losses, and it's all about the games. That's competition model. The development model is about the training environment. It's about what you saw today, 5 coaches on the ice with a group of kids separated into stations focusing on their training. Our ratios are 3 practices to 1 game for our club, just as an example, rather than traveling around just playing games. And the focus of the development over the competition model, over the long term of the kids' hockey career, it's more fun. They get better, faster. They have more opportunities to grow in the sport. So we just this year became what's called a model association by the USA Hockey. We were named that. There's only 17 clubs in the U.S. that are named model associations, and we're the only one in Southern California. There's one other in NorCal, the San Jose Junior Sharks are a model association. There's none other. There's 1,800 clubs in the U.S. and there's only 17 that are model associations. And what that means is just that we've made the commitment to follow the development principles that they've laid out as recommendations. So the reason why there's not more clubs is it's not easy you have to change a lot in order to follow those guidelines. You have to have more practices, you have to have off-ice sessions, you have to travel less, you have to do specific things that are right for the specific age groups. The second pillar is the Positive Coaching Alliance. This year, we became a proud partner of the Positive Coaching Alliance, and there's 3 main parts of that. That just means that all of our coaches have to go through a course about how to connect with kids better and to help them become better athletes. So there's 3 main parts of the Positive Coaching Alliance. We're also, again, the only other club in California that has as a partner of Positive Coaching Alliance is the San Jose Junior Sharks, but there's none other around here, unfortunately. So the first thing is a double goal coach. So all of our coaches go through the certification. They focus on the #1 goal of trying to win, and the second more important goal of teaching life lessons through sports. So we never compromise the first goal for the second one. We try to win the games, we try to always win, but we always focus more on teaching the life lessons through sport. A second goal parent means that they leave the first goal of winning entirely to the players and the coaches, and they focus entirely on enforcing the second goal of teaching life lessons through sports. And the third is the triple impact competitor, and that means teaching the athletes themselves to do 3 things: make themselves better, make their teammates better, and make the game better. So this is applied, the ADM applies to all the things we do on the ice specific to hockey, and the PCA applies to the culture and how we treat the kids and what we want out of this long term for them. This is backed by Phil Jackson, who I'm sure you've heard the name, the NBA best coach probably in sports history perhaps. Steve Young from the NFL. Major League Baseball just partnered with Positive Coaching Alliance for all of youth baseball. They want to apply these principles because they want to keep kids in sports longer and enjoying the sport. And the mission behind the Positive Coaching Alliance is that they realized that 8 out of 10 kids, I believe it's 8 out of 10 kids by the age of 14 quit sports. And the reasons for this are because it wasn't fun, too much pressure, negative environments, things like that. And this is our way of making that a better environment for them. And then the third pillar is our structure. So the way we were set up was how every other club that I know of is set up. You have a bunch of coaches coaching teams, and they have to kind of build their teams. And some of them are really good with the kids, or really good, strong backgrounds in hockey, and some maybe not, and some they're all kind of have to look out for themselves. And it's just the structure of it. They have to build their own teams. They all do their own private kind of lessons or camps and things separately from the organization. They all kind of compete with each other for their own teams. And a lot of them are good people and even good coaches or have good backgrounds. The problem with the structure is it fosters a competition between the coaches rather than teamwork between the coaches. And if we wanted it to be about the athletes and about the kids, we need to create an environment that incentivized everyone to work together and grow the kids up, not compete with each other over players or who should be on whose team or whatever it is, in order to work together and grow the kids. So we have what's called age managers, which means that there's someone that's focused on an age group and they have to become an expert in that age group, and they are the principals of that age group, and they all work together to move kids up within those age groups. As a club, we do all of our camps, clinics, and lessons together. So if you work with the Wildcats private training program, if you want to work on power skating lessons for whatever, it's all as part of a team environment. You could work with one coach one day, another coach another day, and no one's angry or anything. It's all the same place, and it's all through the same system, and it's all under the same philosophy. And you can trust that it's the same philosophy no matter who you have if it's a Wildcat coach. So that's just a basic understanding of our structure. And then the final part of it is a value-based hiring process. One of the things that I did when I first started taking over a club is I hired based on the hockey background. Oh, he played in the NHL, great. Or he played college hockey, awesome, he knows hockey. I've realized that that's a mistake. It's important, if you look around the coaches here, they all have strong hockey backgrounds. That's important. But more important is the values behind the person we're bringing into the organization to support the kids. When we sign a player at tryouts, and I want to be able to look at the mom and dad and tell them that they're in a good place for their kids to be at and trust that. So we need to go through a lot of things in that hiring process to make sure that we're hiring people that follow the same principles and that have the same beliefs as we do. So that's kind of the background of our program. I'm happy to talk about that anytime you have more questions on that. Our main programs now are our club teams. That's the biggest part of our program. So our fall program runs from August through the end of February into early March, depending on how far our team goes in playoffs. We have teams all the way from 8 and under up through 18 and under at different levels, starter levels, beginner levels, and really advanced levels. And then in the springtime, we have our spring club program, which there's a flyer in the back. It's a little bit less. It's twice a week. It's a skills clinic and a 3-on-3, and that runs from mid-March through June, which is when tryouts are. Our tournaments and tournament teams, we host tournaments every major holiday weekend, both here in Riverside. And our club teams play in those tournaments, and then we also put together tournament teams, especially in the off-season, the springtime. You can just register as an individual and play as part of a team for one of our tournaments. And then our private training program is an optional thing. Some of the kids in the club will do private lessons and training as well. So they might want to do power skating or shooting lessons or things like that, and they do that through our program as well, and they can work with any of the coaches that way. So the next steps, some of you are like new, like have little guys just starting hockey. Some of you have had kids playing hockey for a while, or older kids. You're going to be kind of going through hopefully a journey, hopefully a lot of years in the future of your kids playing the sport. I've seen a lot people kind of get caught up and different people are telling them different things, different parents tell them different things, different clubs and coaches tell them different things. What I would recommend that you stick to is you ask yourself, what's important to you? Why do you put your kid in hockey? Why does your kid want to play hockey? What are you trying to get out of it? And remember that whenever you're making your decisions. Well, how will you define success? You know, sometimes you might be on a winning team, sometimes you might be on a last place team, sometimes you might be in the middle team. How will you define success for your kid? And then, what do you want? Do you want to have your child play in a development model or a competition model? And then based on your values, and then you make that decision, and then you ask the questions to find out what it is. So, how many times do you practice? How many times do you play? What's their philosophy? You know, do you play does everyone on the team get to play in the games? So some kids have to sit on the bench. What's the coach's approach to the kids? Those kind of things are the questions you want to ask no matter which program you're going to, depending on what you're looking for. Next steps with us, we have these clinics the next 2 weeks. Next week's 3:30 again. I'm going to stick around. We'll stick around and do another presentation afterwards for anyone new, or if you want to come and sit in on it again, you're welcome. The following week is at 4:40. Our website has all the information on it. It's continually being updated. We have an 888 number that directs you to people directly if you have questions. We have our brochures, our flyers. Coach Pepper Kierman is here almost every day. He's the lead guy down here right now, so you'll see him. You can come to him whether it's questions about in-house hockey, lessons, tournament teams, club programs, whatever it might be. Coach Paul Esdale, who is leading on the ice, he's our hockey director for Riverside and Carlsbad program, and he'll be here during the springtime as well, at least a couple days a week. Coach Tomas Kapusta is also a partner in the Wildcats, a minority partner, and he's our director of high performance. So he works with the 14, 16, 18-year-olds, elite high-level players, but he also comes and works with all the kids. So you'll see him down here in the spring program as well, working with the kids, and also in the private training if your kid does any of that. And then we have Coach Mike and Coach Brandon that are new. They're also down here with Icetown as well, so working in the clinics and the in-house hockey academy and things like that. So our staff is always here to help and give questions, specific things. If they don't know the answer, they can always get it for you. One of the things that we like to pride ourselves on is that we're approachable. Whether you're playing for one of our coaches during the season, you have questions, come and ask for a meeting. We'll sit down, we'll take personal time with you to help you with the decisions for your children. So, thank you very much. I went maybe a little bit longer than I had planned. I appreciate your patience. Any questions? Yes?
I may have missed this, but could you briefly explain the difference between the development coach and the competition team?
Sure. So so for us, we're all development model. Even our 18-year-old AAA elite players are under the development model, which means that we will not compromise the individual development over because of competition. So for example, even Tomas has a BAM AAA team that we have kids that's highly rated across the country, and kids are highly rated. Our focus is still the practice environment, the training environment. All of those kids play in the games. They don't sit on the bench. So that's, for example, the competition model means that if it's a club that's mainly focused on winning the game, right? Whatever it takes to win the game, we want to have a perfect record or whatever it is. These kids are going to sit on the bench during these situations. In practice, we're going to work only on positional play to try to beat the other team, and at the expense of the development of athletes. Questions? Any other questions? It's quiet. Yeah.
Anything?
How's this different from like the learn to play hockey on Sunday over here?
So the learn to play hockey over here and the recreation is great starting into hockey. So Coach Pepper, Coach Mike, Coach Brandon are also involved in that. So kids, that's a great place to start. They learn to play, they learn to skate, and they can even go into the in-house here. Now in Wildcats, it's club hockey. It's a little more intensive. It doesn't necessarily mean like, so for example, for the young kids, the 6 or 7 or 8 or 9-year-olds even, they can still be fairly beginner type players. But instead of with the in-house where you might have 1 practice a week, you go with 8 and under, it's 2 practices a week, or 10 and under, it's 3 practices a week. So it's a new level of commitment. When you decide if your kid loves hockey, he wants to be a little more, he or she wants to be a little more serious about it, the Wildcats Club would offer either the private training or the next level club teams. So depending on how old's your son or daughter?
7. Just
7.
7.
7. So for example, that's our 8 and under. It's still not. So that's a real entry level program, even at the club level. They could continue to learn to play at in-house, and or join the Wildcats Club, which would practice twice a week during the season, and then they play that age group played every 2 or 3 weeks, cross-ice games against some of the other clubs and things like that, but the travel's not a lot. When they get to 10 and under, they start to play the other teams in the league further out. So the 8 and under is still by region, you play like just kind of the teams closer to you, and 10 and under you start playing the teams from Orange County and other things. So most of what you have is still here, but you start to play some games against other rinks on the weekend.
How many teams would be on the ice at one time during practices? So I guess how many kids are out there
Sure.
crowding around?
Yeah, so we're actually under strict requirements from the American Development Model, and part of those requirements are getting more teams on the ice at a time in order to increase touches of the ice and in order to have maximized practice and back. So it's different by the age group. So at the 8 and under level, the recommendation is 6 teams on the ice at a time of 8 to 10 players. So in that situation, we would have, I don't think we'll have 6 mite teams this year, but in that situation, the ideal situation, we would have 6 stations on ice. So you'd have stations of 8 players, for example, in a 6-station practice with 6 coaches where they'd be going from station to station. At the 10 and under level, it's 4 teams per sheet of ice. At the 12 and under, it's 3 teams. At the 14, it's 2 or the 1 sometimes. So it depends on the age groups and it depends on the focus of the training. One thing I will tell you is you can do a lot of kids on the ice very effectively with the right plan and with the right coaching. You can also do it very poorly with the wrong plan and the wrong approach to it. So our approach is, one of the other things that USA Hockey has is called the practice activity tracker, and it's a tool you can use to track the effectiveness of the practice. You follow certain kids and you record the amount of time that they're skating, the amount of time that they're handling the puck, the amount of shots they take, the amount of passes, and so on and so forth. Our style of practices that we've adhered to now under USA Hockey are at least 3 to 4 times the amount of repetition and activity level of the older traditional type practice, even with more kids on the ice. Yeah.
For the Wildcats Club, during the week, 10 and 11 age, what time is the practice during the week typically?
So right now our age groups in Riverside, they practice at 6:40, and then that age group would have off-ice usually beforehand.
Yeah, there's an off-ice element too, just about the mites as well. With the Wildcats, there's a 2 on ice with the mites, and we do 2 off-ice sessions as well. With the 10-9er, we'll do the same thing. 3 on ice though, 2 off ice. So right now in Riverside, we're 6 o'clock off ice, 6 to 6:30, age appropriate, agility, balance, coordination stuff, and then 6:50 to 7:50 on the ice right now. But that can obviously vary a little bit.
That age group will usually be done by 8 o'clock. Latest.
But it's here in Carlsbad, right? Not up in Riverside.
Yeah, so right. So the Carlsbad teams will just be in Carlsbad. Yeah. The Riverside teams will just be in Riverside.
And then the actual games on the weekend, how far is the travel? You mentioned Orange County.
Well, so for 8 and under, it's pretty local still. For 10 and under, it starts to open up to the whole league. Now, you're going to have, say, 16 regular season games. Half of them, 8 would be at home. So 8 of those 16 will be here. So you're talking over 7 months, right? And then 8 of them will be on the road. Now, road is also, San Diego or Orange County. So you might have, of those 8, you might have a handful kind of close by. And you're going to have a handful anywhere. It could be Anaheim, it could be LA, it could even be one in Bakersfield, depending on the team. So you're probably going to have, that's on one Sunday, you're probably, if you play 10 under or 12 and under, you might have a handful of games on a Sunday further away. One of the things that also, according to the American Development Model, that we don't do, like our 12 and under teams, for example, don't travel out of state. So you're not going to have you'll see some places they'll have like their 10 and under teams go to Chicago or Minnesota or whatever, and there's a lot of expense and things with that travel. So our up to our 12 and under don't travel at all. You'll play local tournaments here, Riverside, maybe you're at San Diego, that kind of thing, but you won't have any major travel. At the 14 higher levels, they'll start to do a little bit of travel. Like the teams that Tom West coaches right now.
And the roster sizes are different too.
That's another big thing. It's one of the questions to ask as well if you're talking with other programs and things. Is the other big part of the American development model is they have restrictions on roster sizes. So, for example, a squirt team can't have more than 11 skaters. Or 11 or 12 skaters. One of our sport teams, we're not allowed to have more than 12 skaters on us. That means, and Pee Wee and down, we play all the players completely equally, unless there's some discipline issue or something, some other outstanding issue. So, over the course of a 3-period, 15-minute games, our teams have less kids on, more times on the ice, and everyone plays. So that's another differentiator kind of in the development model versus the competition model.
Is the clinic, that's Thursday, is it Thursday and Sunday, I believe that's coming up,
Yeah.
right, for the next season,
So
for the
that's the
summer?
spring program, that starts mid-March.
Okay,
Yeah, and that's Thursdays will be like a clinic set up like this with stations,
Right.
station based, and then Sundays is cross ice 3-on-3, 3-on-3 or 4-on-4
and that's
games.
for, like you group them like Pee-wee, mites, squirts, etc. Because you keep talking about age, and that's a little bit confusing to me, because
Sure.
it is their ability as well, right? It's
Yeah,
not just an
definitely.
age cutoff, but also like, they might be 8, but they're on a sport team.
Right, which again, why the reason for the station-based practices are really
Right.
important. So the first hour of those sessions is mites and squirts, 8s and 10-year-olds, and then we have stations, and then we group those by ages and abilities into work groups, and they work with that group. And similarly with the Sunday 3-on-3s, you group them. But there's some mix in there, and that's all people too. Yes.
What's the roster size at Pee Wee?
Pee Wee is a max of 13 skaters and 2 goals.
And then the mites, so the 8 and unders, it's recommended between 8 and 12, and we usually carry about
Less than 10.
Yeah, around 10, 8 to 10 this year. So, and usually there's a few, like this year in Riverside we have 3 mite teams, and there's a team of 8, team of 10, and a team of 11. So, you'll see, and especially at the younger age of the sport level too, you'll see teams of 15, 16 players. And if you start doing the math of how much you're on the ice for a game when you have 10, 12 skaters, and then how you practice compared to some of the older style practice, it really adds up in the development of the players. And it's fun. That's what it's all about, right? And the whole ADM, the PCA, it's about being positive, getting the most out of the kids, but enjoying the game. And that's what it's all about. And it's the coaches have fun, the kids have fun, and it's a healthy environment for everyone. So that's the critical part of it.
Okay, well, thank you very much, everyone. We'll stick around for anyone that wants to talk.
Alright.
The kids are probably getting antsy. Thank you.
Good.
You guys, nice to meet you.
What's up? Put your bag.
I recognize you with your stuff off. Normally it's hard to do that.
All right,
Look at how
guys.
sweeter you are.